We are starting to see the very first numbers coming in today's primary. Joining us now to kind of help us understand what we're seeing is Laura Fink and Wendy Patrick, our News 8 political analysts. Thanks so much for being here. All right, Wendy, we've seen the first numbers. Any surprises from just the governor numbers?
Surprising at how close indeed you have the first two candidates, Xavier Becerra and Steve Hilton. Now, we knew they were the two front runners, but they are literally neck and neck. The number we've seen, I mean, they're just barely passing each other. Another big surprise is how far back some of the other candidates are. You know, when we saw the initial polls, people talking about how they were going to vote, everybody thought, well, those numbers are really going to change. I mean, but look at this. You have a dead heat for first place. I did not anticipate this. I understand it's early, and I know that there was a lot of Republican turnout by mail, but much to everybody's surprise. But that is also a surprise. I would also say it's a surprise on the lower end as well. I would think that we would have seen a little higher numbers for Katie Porter.
And maybe Chad Bianco as well. I mean, he and so a lot of people when this whole race started thought he and Steve Hilton were going to be 1 and 2, and you know, we'd be looking at a Republican governor. Now, all of that said, Laura, San Diego County's numbers haven't even come out yet. So does that tell you we are so early in this that we don't even really know what's going on?
Huge question mark, because we don't know where the data is coming from. Are they coming from counties that are Republican strongholds? Are they coming from Democratic urban areas? And where are their base? Xavier Becerra is from LA. If they're LA County numbers, those would favor him. Obviously, if we're in the rural counties, that would favor Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. What I noticed is, one, how irregular the votes are, and two, how there's movement. I mean, we saw the first numbers. We saw Steve Hilton with the lead,
yes,
Becerra second, and Steyer a distant third. Now we see Steyer catching up and it evening between Hilton and Becerra, and those numbers are going to continue to change. The trend line can't even be trusted at this point, again, because we don't know where the ballots are from and how many ballots remain to be counted. But we are seeing it fall in line with the polling, who the top three are, with more and more information that we need to be able to see who the real winner will be.
Although the one thing that surprised me in these early numbers is how far behind Tom Steyer was. And I love the soundbite everybody seems to be rallying around. California is not for sale. Maybe it isn't. And I think I was always asking at the beginning of this race to both of you, how does he have as much support as he has, not ever having before held public office?
And it's some powerful support. He has some powerful support here in the state.
And I wonder if he looked like a better candidate due to that powerful support. But when voters actually got out there and, you know, read the ballots, those that are actually going to the polls, they realized that the other candidates had more to offer. It may be as simple as that. Because he is significantly in third place, not as close as the early polling would have had us believe.
Wendy's pretty hard on Tom Steyer tonight. But,
I know, right?
But where she's right is that he has a long way to go in order to catch up to that number 2 position. What was he, 6 points behind when we saw that? Are there enough votes out there where if he continues to have momentum, can he close that gap? Or will we see Becerra kind of shoot ahead with those further ballots to be counted?
And, you know, I go back to this likability as electability idea. Not that he doesn't seem like a likable man, but part of that is identification. You know, perhaps voters can identify more with other candidates. And I know the counter argument to that is then why is Donald Trump president? So I get it. You know, it depends on the different voters. But with Tom Steyer in particular, with his lack of experience, I wondered whether that was going to be a factor. I guess we'll eventually, when we talk to voters afterwards, learn if that was true.
All right, another race that we're going to be watching is the newly redrawn District 48. We've got, you know, Jim Desmond, who has been a county supervisor for a long time, very popular in that area. You've got Amar Campa-Najjar in that area as well, and Marnie Von Wilpert, a San Diego City Council person. Where do you see things shaking out with that race?
This is a really tough race because nobody has a natural base. Marnie has a base in, except for Jim Desmond. Jim Desmond represents a good chunk of that area, and being the lead conservative by a large margin, he's going to come out of the race. But this fight, nobody has a distinctive base. Marnie has a city council district that's not super populated. It spans multiple counties. That means you have to be geographically traveling places. It means unpredictability. It means candidates are sweating it. It means without those initial numbers, we don't know who's still in the fight and who might get left behind.
And what I think will be interesting about this as well is we have seen so much of this redistricting around the country where different states have tried to make moves to, you know, put the right person who they think is the right person in place. we're going to kind of see tonight if it's going to work. Because what if it doesn't work here in California? What if it doesn't work in Texas? What if this was a whole lot of nothing?
Well, I think it probably isn't a whole lot of nothing, or there wouldn't be such a hype over it, and there wouldn't be court rulings that are challenging the realities of, well, exactly how are you redistricting, and are you disenfranchising groups that legally are not allowed to disenfranchise? So those are some of the legal questions. Let's talk about the practical questions. Is it really going to matter to voters in terms of these races that we're discussing where they live? I get it that, a larger geographical or a different geographical area is significant, and we know that because we've seen the color-coded maps of California before and after Prop 50, so we know all of that. But with respect to the race we're discussing, I just think it's still just as challenging in some sense to try to figure out people in those demographics, are they going to vote? Are people that just, maybe are somebody's constituents as city council, are they more or less likely to vote than somebody else's base? I think this is a tough one to call.
Well, and it's also competitive. The district is Democrats +4. That's not a huge registration advantage going into November. That means one Democrat has to inspire those voters to turn out, and they've got to show up. Now, all of the conventional wisdom says that they will, but Jim Desmond is counting on that not being the case, and that lower turnout by Democrats in this district this will be foreshadowing. Democrats aren't showing up in June. Maybe fewer than expected will show up in November.
And what inspires voters to turn out is believing that your candidate is not a sure thing to win. There is nothing that inspires voters more than knowing that your vote may be the deciding vote.
You don't like to lose on vote. We don't like to lose on anything. All right. Thank you so much. We're going to check back in with you once we have more numbers, and especially the San Diego numbers, because, boy, we have a lot to discuss when that happens. All right.